The Siberian Husky, survival written in snow and silence. They were not bred for comfort. They were not bred for obedience alone. They were bred to outrun winter itself. To understand the Siberian Husky, we must leave behind paved roads and climate-controlled homes and travel instead to the vast, frozen expanses of northeastern Siberia, where survival depended not on dominance or spectacle, but on endurance, cooperation, and the ability to move relentlessly across landscapes that offered no mercy to the unprepared. Long before kennel clubs formalized standards or urban families admired striking blue eyes, the Chukchi people relied on these dogs as lifelines in one of the harshest climates on Earth. Temperatures plunged far below freezing. Blizzards erased visibility. Food sources were scarce and often distant. In such conditions, transportation was not convenience. It was survival. The Chukchi selectively bred dogs capable of pulling light sleds over immense distances with minimal food intake, preserving energy while maintaining steady pace across snow-packed terrain that stretched endlessly beneath pale winter skies. These were not massive freight haulers built purely for brute strength. They were efficient endurance athletes, medium-sized, compact, with thick double coats that insulated against Arctic winds, almond-shaped eyes that resisted frostbite, and tightly curled tails used as protective scarves during rest. The Siberian Husky's anatomy reflects calculated adaptation rather than decorative beauty. Every feature served a purpose, but beyond physical design, temperament defined the breed's success. The Chukchi lived closely with their dogs, often allowing them inside dwellings for warmth and protection. Aggression toward humans was intolerable. A sled dog needed to function within a cooperative social structure, both with people and within a team of other dogs harnessed side by side for hours of synchronized movement. This required a balance of independence and pack awareness. A husky had to think for itself when navigating unstable ice or adjusting to terrain changes, yet remain responsive to its musher's guidance and to the rhythm of the team. That balance forged a temperament characterized by sociability, resilience, and a remarkable tolerance for group living. In the early 20th century, these Arctic dogs entered global awareness during the Nome serum run of 1925, when sled dog teams transported life-saving diphtheria antitoxin across hundreds of miles of Alaskan wilderness in brutal winter conditions. Among those teams were Siberian Huskies whose speed and endurance outperformed larger, heavier freight breeds in extreme weather. The world took notice. Suddenly, these Arctic endurance specialists were no longer isolated to remote Siberian communities. They became symbols of courage and survival. But as interest spread beyond indigenous necessity and into recreational sled racing and companionship, the Siberian Husky's identity began shifting into new environments far removed from its original ecological demands. In North America, organized sled dog racing grew in popularity, and Huskies were prized for their speed, stamina, and efficiency over long distances. Breeders maintained strong working lines, preserving athletic build and cooperative temperament essential for competitive mushing. At the same time, their striking wolf-like appearance and expressive eyes captured the imagination of the public. The Husky's aesthetic appeal, combined with its reputation for endurance and adventure, made it increasingly desirable as a companion animal. Yet this transition carried an inherent tension. The Siberian Husky was engineered for motion, for miles of daily exertion, for cold climates that challenge rather than comfort. Its metabolism, coat density, and behavioral patterns reflect an evolutionary partnership with Arctic conditions. Placed into warm suburban environments with limited exercise, the breed's energy does not disappear. It redirects. Digging, vocalizing, escaping fenced yards, and exploring beyond boundaries are not signs of defiance. They are echoes of ancestral instincts shaped by open tundra and constant travel. The Siberian Husky's story is not simply about beauty or endurance. It is about survival shaped by climate and culture. And as this Arctic athlete now navigates modern domestic life, the question emerges. Can a breed written in snow adapt fully to environments where winter is optional and distance is rarely demanded? To answer that, we must look deeper into how endurance, independence, and social structure define the Husky's identity beyond its striking appearance. As the Siberian Husky moved from the frozen isolation of Arctic Siberia into the expanding world of organized sled racing and modern companionship, its defining traits were tested against environments that no longer required daily survival across endless snowfields, yet still carried the imprint of those ancestral demands. In early Alaskan sled competitions, Huskies quickly distinguished themselves from heavier freight breeds by combining moderate size with exceptional efficiency, covering long distances at steady speeds while consuming less food than larger dogs that relied primarily on brute pulling power. This efficiency was not accidental. Generations of Chukchi breeding had favored dogs that could conserve energy over extended journeys, metabolizing limited rations while maintaining mental clarity and coordinated teamwork in extreme cold. The Nome serum run further cemented this reputation, demonstrating that these dogs could navigate blizzards, frozen rivers, and darkness without surrendering to exhaustion, guided by mushers who depended entirely on the team's endurance and trust. But as mechanized transportation gradually replaced sled travel in many regions, the Husky's practical necessity diminished. What remained was admiration. Admiration for resilience, admiration for stamina, admiration for the striking contrast between piercing eyes and thick fur against white snow. Recreational mushing and competitive racing preserved working lines, ensuring that some breeders continued selecting for athletic structure, efficient gait, and cooperative pack behavior essential for synchronized sled teams. However, parallel to this preservation, the Husky entered suburban and urban homes in increasing numbers, drawn by its dramatic appearance and romantic association with wilderness adventure. And here the contrast sharpened. The Siberian Husky was designed for collective motion within a structured pack hierarchy, where leadership came from a musher who provided clear direction and consistent expectation. In domestic settings lacking that structure, the breed's independence becomes more visible. Unlike highly handler-focused breeds that constantly seek instruction, Huskies often evaluate commands with a degree of autonomy, reflecting the decision-making capacity required when navigating unpredictable terrain or thin ice. This independence is frequently misinterpreted as stubbornness. In reality, it is functional intelligence shaped by environmental necessity. The Husky's social orientation toward other dogs also traces directly to its sled heritage. Working in harness requires tolerance, coordination, and the ability to operate alongside multiple teammates without persistent conflict. This predisposition often translates into strong sociability with other canines, though it may coexist with a pronounced prey drive towards smaller animals, a trait linked to ancestral hunting supplementation during Arctic scarcity. Physical adaptation remains central to the breed's identity. The double coat, composed of a dense underlayer and protective outer guard hairs, regulates body temperature in sub-zero climates, insulating in warmer regions. This coat becomes a management responsibility, requiring seasonal shedding awareness and protection from overheating. The Husky's metabolism, optimized for cold endurance, may struggle in humid or hot conditions without careful exercise scheduling and hydration monitoring. And yet, despite these environmental mismatches, the breed retains a remarkable adaptability when its fundamental needs are respected. Regular endurance exercise, structured training that reinforces leadership without harshness, and opportunities for controlled social interaction allow the Husky to channel its energy constructively. When deprived of such outlets, however, its survival instincts reemerge in alternative forms. Fence climbing and digging are not arbitrary misbehavior. They are strategies once used to navigate obstacles and seek resources across open tundra. The conflict deepens as popularity grows. The husky's visual appeal continues, attracting owners drawn to its wolf-like features, sometimes without full awareness of the commitment required to manage its energy and independence. Shelters in warmer climates often report surrendered huskies described as too active or too difficult to contain, phrases that reveal a gap between romantic expectation and biological reality. Meanwhile, dedicated working breeders maintain racing lines that still traverse snow-covered trails each winter, preserving the physical and mental blueprint forged by the Chukchi centuries earlier. Two identities now coexist within the same breed, one rooted in Arctic endurance and disciplined teamwork, the other navigating fenced yards and suburban sidewalks. The Siberian Husky stands between them, carrying snow and its instincts even when the ground beneath its paws is paved. And as we move deeper into the modern world, that tension grows more visible, raising questions about how far adaptation can stretch before core identity begins to erode. The Siberian Husky's greatest strength has always been its ability to endure. Not simply to survive a single storm, but to travel through weeks of frozen wind across landscapes where silence stretches wider than the horizon and the only certainty is movement forward. That endurance is not just physical, it is psychological. A sled dog cannot collapse emotionally halfway through a journey. It cannot surrender to frustration or panic when visibility disappears in whiteout conditions. It must trust the rhythm of the team, the leadership of the musher, and the memory of trails carved through instinct and repetition. This mental resilience was carved into the husky long before modern breeding standards documented its proportions or eye color. And that resilience explains much about the breed's behavior today. In Arctic conditions, independence was not rebellion. It was survival. A lead dog needed the judgment to sense unstable ice beneath its paws and adjust direction before the musher even issued a command. A team dog had to maintain steady pull without constant correction, conserving energy while staying synchronized with others. This selective pressure created a canine temperament that values cooperation but retains personal assessment. In modern homes, that same temperament can feel perplexing. A husky may respond to commands, but not with the immediate compliance seen in breeds shaped primarily for handler-focused obedience. It evaluates, it weighs context, it decides. This does not mean the breed lacks intelligence. On the contrary, it reflects a type of intelligence shaped by environmental unpredictability rather than rigid hierarchy. The conflict intensifies when such independence meets confined spaces and limited stimulation. The Arctic offered miles of open terrain, constant teamwork, and purposeful exertion. Suburban life often offers brief walks in closed yards and sporadic engagement. When energy remains unspent, it transforms. A husky may dig not out of mischief, but from inherited instinct to create shelter or seek cooler ground beneath snow. It may howl not to disturb neighbors, but to communicate, echoing ancestral calls that once maintained pack cohesion across vast frozen distances. Escaping a yard is not necessarily defiance. It is exploration written into its genetic memory. This breed was never meant to remain stationary. It was meant to travel. At the same time, the husky's sociable nature often makes it approachable and friendly towards strangers, lacking the territorial intensity seen in some guarding breeds. In sled teams, unnecessary aggression disrupted performance. Cooperation ensured survival. Thus, while the husky may appear wolf-like in silhouette, its temperament toward people is often surprisingly open and non-confrontational. Yet the modern surge in popularity, amplified by social media and cinematic portrayals of Arctic adventure, has introduced new pressures. Aesthetic appeal can overshadow practical understanding. Prospective owners may admire the striking coat patterns and piercing eyes without fully grasping the daily exercise, secure containment, and mental engagement required to maintain balance. Rescue organizations increasingly encounter huskies surrendered for behaviors that trace directly back to their heritage. High prey drive in neighborhoods filled with small animals. Persistent attempts to roam beyond fences. Vocal expression that surprises those expecting quiet companionship. the emotional peak of the Husky's story emerges here. It is a breed perfectly engineered for one of the most extreme climates on Earth, now navigating environments that rarely demand even a fraction of its original endurance. When properly exercised through long-distance running, pulling sports, skyjoring, or structured adventure, the Husky often reveals extraordinary joy and equilibrium. When confined without purpose, that same energy becomes restless and misdirected. The tension is not a flaw. It is a mismatch between design and lifestyle. The Siberian Husky carries the memory of snowstorms in its stride and the rhythm of sled teams in its heartbeat. Its independence is not a defect. It is heritage. The question now is whether modern ownership can align with that heritage, or whether the gap between Arctic origin and suburban reality will continue widening until adaptation begins to erode identity. Because endurance without direction becomes wandering, and wandering in a world of fences creates friction. The Siberian Husky's story does not end in the Arctic. It does not end in a race across frozen wilderness or in the echo of sled runners cutting through packed snow. It continues wherever a pair of bright eyes watches the horizon, even when that horizon is framed by fences instead of tundra. The climax of this breed's journey is not simply its survival in extreme cold. It is its survival through change. From the Chukchi camps of northeastern Siberia to the serum relay teams of Alaska, from competitive sled circuits to suburban neighborhoods far removed from winter's edge, the Husky has carried its blueprint intact. That blueprint was written in endurance, in cooperation, in motion without complaint. But endurance alone does not guarantee harmony in a modern world that rarely demands it. The Husky's independence, once a safeguard against disaster on unstable ice, can clash with owners expecting unquestioning obedience. Its need for movement, once fulfilled by daily miles across snowfields, can overwhelm households unprepared for sustained physical engagement. Its voice, shaped by pack communication across vast distances, can surprise those who mistake silence for simplicity. Yet when its needs are met, something extraordinary happens. A Husky given structured exercise, clear leadership, and secure boundaries often becomes vibrant rather than volatile. It runs with joy rather than restlessness. It socializes with openness rather than suspicion. It bonds deeply with its family while retaining the spirited spark that defined its Arctic ancestry. The resolution of this story lies not in changing the Husky to fit modern convenience. It lies in understanding the Husky well enough to adapt our expectations. This breed was never engineered for confinement without purpose. It was engineered for partnership under challenge, for movement as routine, for teamwork as necessity. Every time a Husky leans into a harness and pulls forward with steady determination, we glimpse its original design. Every time it lifts its voice in a long, resonant howl, we hear an echo of frozen landscapes and distant companions. These behaviors are not inconveniences. They are history expressing itself. The Siberian Husky reminds us that beauty often carries responsibility. That striking eyes and thick coats are not decorations, but signals of deeper biological architecture shaped by climate and culture. If we celebrate the image without honoring the design, imbalance follows. If we respect